So this is the latest Remnant Fly. This is kind of a, well, it started out, yeah, actually it turned out like I thought it would. It's just basically a Conehead Bunny Leech, but I found a 90-degree hook and a cone and decided to just do a little bunny leech. And this one went in pretty well. There's a couple of key points because this was going to ride hook point up in terms of tying in the tail. I go into that in the video. And then right at the end, when I thought I was done, I wasn't happy with how things ended up right behind the cone. So I had to put a little bit of a rabbit hair dubbing loop in just to make that look a little more finished. Anyway, interesting fly, fun. Again, the Remnant Flies are just something that are thrown together kind of on the fly, using what skills and knowledge you have to come up with something that is fishable. So that's the latest Remnant Fly. I'll get started tying. So I'm going to start this Remnant Fly with my hook and the vise. I have no idea what model hook this is. It was in with a bunch of other things. It's obviously a 90-degree bend jig style hook. I can't even remember what class I might have used these in, other than maybe tying some meat whistles or something like that. I don't know. So I'll look it up and it'll be in the description down below, or at least what I think it is. Or at least something you could use. Let's go there. So I'm going to go ahead and debarb the hook. And I have a cone. This is a large gold cone already on there. The thing about tying these, and I did do a video on tying the meat whistle, if you're ever interested in that particular fly and tying it. It also has a cone on a 90-degree jig hook like this. Thing you have to be careful of is that the cone wants to go over around that bend like that. So you have to keep it from doing that. First thing that you're going to do is you're going to come up here and we're going to build up just a little bit of thread in front of that cone, just a little bump of thread right here to kind of wedge that cone on. And that is going to keep that cone from sliding over while we tie the fly. You can see it still can go over there, so I'm going to wrap in just a little bit more. Now it is big enough that that cone cannot get over it. We'll put in a quick little whip finish here. And then I'm going to put just a little drop of some thin super glue on there, kind of soak down in there, and that's going to kind of solidify the it's going to just make that real nice and hard and solidify it so that it doesn't eventually come unraveled or anything. Help protect it just a little bit. I'm going to give that just a moment to kind of set up around there. Get that cone set up on there. There you go. Now this is just again, a basic bunny leech. I did a video a few months back on how to do a real basic bunny leech using regular Zonker and crosscut. This is kind of the same thing from here on out. So if you want to look at that video, you can. There's different ways you can do this. I've got some scraps of some rabbit zonker and crosscut here that I'm just going to go ahead and do this with. I thought it would be interesting when I ran across that hook in a cone to just do a Conehead Bunny Leech. Probably going to put a little bit longer tail on this than I normally would just to see how it works in terms of fouling up. The other thing to consider is that this is going to ride hook point up. So if I put in the Zonker strip with the hide down here, then when it swims, it's actually going to be swimming like this. So I actually have to pierce this and tie this in like that so that when it swims in the water, it's actually swimming up correctly. So I'm going to get those about 20. I think this is a 0.015, maybe a 0.020 lead. I'm going to attach my thread behind those lead wraps. Get my thread anchored in. Then I'm going to wrap my thread over those lead wraps. And this is just to kind of hold them in place. That's all. It also helps because like in the previous bunny leech I did, this one I'm going to put some flex cement along that to kind of glue the bunny leech down just a little bit. So you're going to take your Zonker strip here. I want to measure this. It's going to be tied in generally about where the point of the hook is, but I need to pierce it so that the Zonker goes over the hook here, somewhere right about in this area. So when I measure this, I'll hold that up. I'm going to tie that in. I'm going to see where the end is of the shank, and it's right about there. That's where I'm going to pierce this with my bodkin. You could also take the hook out and pierce that if you want to with the actual point of the hook. That's up to you. I do have to, at this point, take the hook out of the vise. Put the point in the hole I just made and thread that hide onto the hook. I can then put that back into the vise. And now I can bring that hide up here, right up underneath, and tie that in. The crosscut hide doesn't matter because it's going to go in and it's going to just wrap around the hook shank. So it really doesn't matter in terms of how it's tied in. But this one, as you can see, needs to have it going with the hook going through the hide so that where this is cut, right back in here, and I'm just using one side of the scissors right here to cut that hide. That way I'm just cutting the hide away. I'm not cutting the hair. And I end up with that long taper still. As you can see now, when this swims in the water, I have a nice tapered tail back here. It'll be nice and in line. So at this point, I get my cross cut. I want to get a nice long, got a little bit here, nice long one I don't want to run out. I'm going to tie that in right at the end of the shank. Advancing my thread forward to up behind the cone. I'll now take my flex cement I'm being pretty generous with this because I really want it to soak into that hide and bond it down pretty well. Now I can wrap in that cross cut. When I get up to the cone, I'm going to go ahead and pull on that a little bit harder and get an extra wrap in there, maybe even two. That cone, the hide will tend to slide up into the cone. I'll trim off, or I'll separate the hair first and secure this down. Just trying to make certain I'm not trapping a bunch of other hairs in here, which I am. That thread will actually even want to go down that hide a little bit into the cone. Just take your time with it. The other thing is, if you end up with a gap back here, a lot of people will just take a little bit of rabbit hair dubbing and wrap on there to kind of fill it in. But you'll notice that right here, when I just take my time and wrap that in right behind, those thread wraps kind of go up into that cone. But again, if you end up with a little bit wider gap right there, you could just dub a little bit of rabbit hair on there to kind of fill that in a little bit. That would be just fine. Getting a liberal amount of head cement up in the hide and up into that cone. And our 90-degree hook Conehead Bunny Leech, that's what I guess I'll call it, is done. That is how this is going to ride in the water. With all that extra weight, this thing is going to be banging right around on the bottom. If you're going to fish this, I would be fishing this real slow. And some of that head cement leached back into those hairs. They'll probably come out, but again, if you want to, what you could do is just, well, a lot of that came back out. I'm going to reattach my thread here, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to actually dub a little bit of hair right on here. You can see I got a lot of head cement up in there. Matter of fact, we'll have a little bit of fun here. And I'm going to make a dubbing loop. So what I've done is I have a dubbing loop here, and I've got some hair trapped in there, doing it the more complicated way, of course. Because I don't have any Actually, hold on. This will work. I do have a bulldog clip here. So with this bulldog clip, what I can do is actually get this Zonker strip and the hair inside this bulldog clip. Show you in just a second here. So I have this bulldog clip and I put that Zonker in it. There's other clips out there that are made specifically for this if you're interested in this technique. So I cut the hide off of that, and now I take my dubbing loop. Let me open that back up. I put the hair in the dubbing loop like this, close that loop around it, open the bulldog clip to release it. Now I can twist up that hair into a little rabbit dubbing brush. So now I can wrap this around here, stroking all this back. And all I'm doing is I'm doing this to kind of fill in that gap. A lot of that head cement soaked into the roots of that rabbit hair. And this is just going to fill that in just a little bit. So as you can see, it just helps right behind that cone to kind of fill that in a little bit, gives it a little bit more to have movement and flow behind it. This time I'm just going to put a little bit of head cement right up in here, just on those thread wraps. And there you go. So now our Conehead 90-degree hook Conehead Bunny Leech is done. Sometimes you have to improvise. That's what the Remnant Flies are all about, taking some bits and pieces left over, throwing some things together, sometimes having to take some skills you haven't used in a while or think outside of the box to get something done. But who knows? I think that's going to be a productive leech pattern, sculpin type crayfish pattern. We'll have some fun with that. Thanks for watching today. Thank you for joining me at the Vise today. I hope you learned a new pattern, at least a tip or trick here and there. If you'd like to help Dress Irons, you can like, comment, share, subscribe, all those wonderful things for the video. You can also head out to dressedirons.com where you can buy flies, tools, stickers, and merch. Or you can join a growing community over on Locals at the Dressed Irons Fly Tying Guild. You can also donate to Dressed Irons if you want through the link at the bottom of the description. I thank everybody for their ongoing support, as it really does help the creation of these videos. But what's important is to remember, only fly tying. If you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong.